Well, hey, good morning. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. Of course, I'm your host. My name is Jared. If you're interested, don't be. You can follow me here on Blue Sky. I encourage you, if you haven't already, jump to the top of my TikTok profile, click on the links. You'll see Clapper and YouTube. I would follow me on YouTube. You never know when we will say something stupid and get banned from TikTok, as we are wont to do. Good morning. As per the usual, we start the show with music, but not in the way it's typically presented. Typically, when somebody starts a show, they just blare the music in your ear and you just kind of have to suffer through it. And I decided that's optional. And I'll just put the link to Edwin Starr's War in the chat. And if you feel so inclined, sometimes I listen to it while I talk to you. Okay. Sometimes it gives me a little bit of juice when I need some. Okay. Good morning, cousins. All my bright and earlies. Uh, Now, keep in mind, normally I'm live, okay, 8 a.m. to 9:30 Eastern, Monday through Friday. Good to go. We had gotten banned from TikTok for calling into question the mental faculties of one Elon Musk, although using inappropriate language. Um, totally meant it. Don't take it back. His mom said it. What are you even talking about? So, remember how I told you that the US number one export is entertainment, and how you do not want to devalue entertainment in the United States? If you do, that's the end. Think about movements without famous people in them. Just by the way, think about think about how your movement lacks validity until uh, Samuel L. Jackson is, and I could have picked anybody. Jimmy Kimmel is advertising for it, right? That's kind of the America we live in, right? That's in my personal opinion, where there were certainly, if you look backwards and not very far, there were people that didn't join the Black Lives Matter protests until certain black celebrities voiced their support, and then they're all about it. That's the sort of country we live in, where people won't jump until they're people when told jump will ask how high, right? But there is an article there where China is considering banning U.S. film, and so again, there are almost certainly more pressing issues. I'm not above I'm not above that. Okay, but remember when I told you the number one export in the United States is entertainment. Okay, if China bans U.S. film, okay, down goes network news. They're not far behind, which could be more of a cure than anything. Okay, but right after we talk about the potential Chinese ban of U.S. film, which I think would have a massive impact on our economy. And I think that high earners, not necessarily millionaires or billionaires, but high earners hold up the GDP, which again is not necessarily any relevant statistic. It's just a part of the math related to how a country's doing financially. Um, but high earners, people like movie stars, and there's not that many of them. Okay. Uh, think of anyone that you know. Okay, they pay hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in taxes every year. They're not susceptible to the same sort of tax breaks these billionaires are. Kind of depends on where they live, and you could be very specific. But on the broad spectrum, they're all tax-paying citizens, and they all make a whole lot of money, and they are actually living in the same areas, and they hold up the income in the area, and they affect directly the kinds of goods and services offered in that area, right? So when that film gets banned in China and it cuts off the profit for a film to be shot in the US, um, man, does it look like from the this angle, it looks an awful lot like the US could lose doctors, lawyers, and nurses who are looking to practice elsewhere, and also um, people in entertainment looking to work elsewhere. I also think that's like a super dangerous situation. Um, and that's not to say the United States is perfect in any way. So I don't ever want to get into a situation where people are like, God, man, you really think a whole lot of the United States. I think it's a lot safer to work in the United States than it is a lot of other places. And again, there are exceptions to the rule. But on the whole, OSHA, right? There are like regulations for labor here. There are many countries all over the world that have horrible, or even worse, is probably better, even worse working regulations, if any at all. Okay. So one of the things that I will constantly think about, a couple main thoughts as I move along in life. Okay. I'll think, when did we stop giving a fuck about people? Like, what the fuck happened? Obviously, in my mind, mentally, I felt like everybody really fucked with everybody until the Rodney King beating, and then everybody kind of went home. At least that's my lived experience. A lot of people said um, 9/11, that happened when I was a senior in high school, or the Columbine shooting, which happened when I was a freshman in high school. Right, so those shared traumas that we've all been through. A lot of people have said like these are when people became very tribal, um, and and went home. Yeah, for the record, one of the things that I think about a lot, I think about what I say as it's coming out of my mouth, right? And so I try to tread carefully because I'm not trying to specifically piss anyone off. Okay, somebody might have some issue with what I say, but you'll notice, for the record, when I speak, I don't have a constant dehumanizing language. Who's dehumanizing people? I'm trying to be human by like being careful with what I talk about, right? Like one of my YouTube ardent supporters was telling me that they follow a guy who lives in China on YouTube, and he works a lot of hours and he doesn't get a lot of rest, and where he works is like dangerous, and he takes his camera to work and he shows you where he works, and it's like, hey man, like it's really loud, you should have ear protection on. He doesn't have any ear protection on. And then the machine he's working on, it looks like it's hot, and like he should have gloves on and he doesn't have gloves on, and almost everyone in there is sweating like a fucking pig, and you're just like, they're sweating so much it's getting on the floor. They should have air conditioning. And you realize, like, oh, that's in a foreign country. So, for the record, one of the strands of thought that I'm on right now, where I'm like, when did we stop giving a fuck about people? Was it when we found out Nike owns sweatshops in fucking Vietnam and shit? Um, all in the name of capitalism. I'll always think of that. Like, when the fuck did we stop giving a shit about people? Because when you talk about um, Donald Trump's decision to lay tariffs, is in my opinion, the single most negatively impactful decision any of us have ever made. The single most negatively impactful decision that any of us will ever make. I, again, I'm not a hope seller. I'm not the person to sit here and try to tell you this is a recoverable situation. Everything is going to be fine. Dude, I studied data analytics until I got to the point where I realized that I knew the math. I understood what AI was going to do to the job market, right? It's not it's not fucking recoverable. The sorts of dips the stock market is having, the hiccups the stock market are having, you can't make money on that. You can't buy back in after you sell and reliably profit anymore. It is all a dive. And so again, the problem is that Donald Trump thinks if we when we import something, if we charge more for that to the Old Navy store to buy that good at the port, right? It's more like throwing up than hiccups. Yeah, hey, I was trying to talk about the last few days where it's been like hiccup, hiccup, and amidst the fucking holy shit. Okay. I've had people reach out to me and say they've lost 40,000 plus 50,000, 70,000, 100K in investments. I've watched a lot of unsavory people that you and I don't necessarily fuck with, talking about losing their whole asshole. And I have a hard time really being empathetic right now. And that's because I was screaming at the top of my lungs that the US healthcare system is going to fucking fail. It is a failure. It is an abject failure. The money is gone. I have a vested in I think of for a vested interest is when like I've paid money to maintain a license in this field for years that cost thousands of dollars a year. Really good money. I got to work from home. It was like six figs, easy, an easy 8 hour workday. I'm not sweating the gig at all or the cost. I'm not complaining about this at all. But I saw the bottom start to fall out. And when I say the bottom, I'm talking about people I regularly reference. I regularly reference my beneficiaries, the people that are on Medicare and Medicaid, and they make, less than probably like 99% of the people in this room. Okay. Most of these people make, Jesus, less than 1,600 a month on the whole. And most of them are alone. And that's what made me the epidemic. I know that there's a book, but there is an epidemic of loneliness. Um, again, I frequently say things like we've seen far more than we were ever meant to see, and also we are more alone than we were ever meant to be. And it's because one of the things I've realized, like as I get older, is like don't get to know people, because when you do, you find out just about them, exactly who that is. And again, one of the problems I'm having being empathetic in this time frame, in this past week, with this stock market crash, is that I tried to fucking tell you. Better yet, they wrote a book. Project 2025 is like this thick, and it's a book, and you can buy it everywhere. Any Libby app, you could have read Project 2025 and known that the tariffs were coming. So the difference between what I did last year, which was realize that my career is over and I have to switch career fields, and I had to pull all my money out of Vanguard last summer. That had nothing to do with the fucking stock market or Project 2025. It had everything to do with understanding that what this administration, this past administration, failed to do was reform healthcare. And I have been saying forever the US healthcare system is failing because it is built upon a throne of lies. Capitalism is selling you for-profit healthcare as the way. The problem I have with that first is that 33 of 34 developed countries have universal healthcare. And hey, here's how I feel about it. If you want to fucking pay for healthcare, go pay for healthcare. I'm going to hang out with the people, I'm going to like people that don't want to pay for healthcare and don't want anyone else paying for healthcare. I don't want you to live or die based on your ability to pay. I don't want that for you. I don't want you. I have to have conversations all the time with grown ass adults that had to divorce their spouse even though they still live together and sleep in the same bed and still fuck. Because they accrued a bunch of medical debt and they're going to die. And the only way that the person that they love the most in the world won't have to inherit their fucking medical debt is if they get a divorce and they sell the house before I actually die. The lining your fucking nursing homes, by the way. Lonely fucking people whose end of their lives is not going how they fucking thought it was going to go. That's for sure. I thought I was going to be more capable. That's one of the things that I hear a lot. I thought I was going to be a lot more mobile, Jared. I thought I wasn't going to hurt so much getting in and out of the car. I thought it wasn't going to hurt so much getting my fucking groceries out of the car. And in my head, I'm an athlete. I'm a sports coach. In my head, I'm thinking this is a multi-generational issue. It's not your problem. For my whole life, sports was optional. So was your fucking education. You could have kids just slough their way through fucking school. It was called No Child Left Behind. Don't be mad at me. I didn't make up those rules. Okay. But when I was a kid, my teachers had to pull me aside and give me extra work and say, "Hey, you're really not being challenged here." Many times got told like we need to put you in the next grade, and so they just give me. And I just say there ain't no way my parents are gonna let me do that. So here, just take extra work. I'll just give you extra work. Try to teach you extra shit because I know this shit is remedial to you. Okay, that was my entire childhood. So would go around and help the kids that were struggling, and even I, as like a child, was just like, oh my god, these kids are so fucked. Like how many years in a row did you just get brought along? And the worst part about it, you thinking back to these kids, and these are the poor kids that didn't come from the good neighborhoods, whose parents didn't make much money. They had a fucked up childhood. They got all kinds of bad shit going on at home. You know, those are the kids that are like unable to fucking focus because mom and dad are so financially fucking irresponsible. They're about to get kicked out of their trailer. And a feat we didn't even think was happening. But yeah, Army there says they've been defunding public education forever, and I know why. It's a cruelty and it's racism. And let me explain. It's the reason they've been defunding public education. I can explain it. I worked in the system. I like got out of the matrix, right? So I could talk about that. I mean, I'll never probably ever work in IPS ever, but hey, I made it out of the matrix. Um, See, right now what they're trying to do is they're trying to kill IPS, Indianapolis Public Schools. They're trying to defund the one of the best things about Indianapolis, man, is Indianapolis Public Schools, man. I worked in the IPS system. I worked. I coached against IPS kids. I played sports against them when I was in high school. Um, I know how important some of these communities are. So what they have tried to do is they tried to defund public education and start up these charter schools. Okay, and so I also spent a year at a charter school. Okay, um, it sucks saying it out loud. It's just fucking true. They're trying to kill public schools so that because according to the IHSAA, okay, according to the IHSAA, if the kids are at the school before or after school for any amount of time, you gotta feed them. And if you think about living in like a big city, you want your kids to go to like a public school because the IHSA rules say if my kids are going to be an athlete, they're going to spend time at the school outside of school. If they're going to do any extracurriculars, IHSA rules says that you got to feed them. And I'm not talking about paid. I'm not talking about you have to make it available and they have to choose to buy it or not. That's no. Your program is supposed to provide. So just so you all know, and in the IHSAA, Indiana High School Athletic Association, if your school is an IHSAA school and you got kids before or after school doing before or after school programs, they're supposed to be being fed. The purpose of voucher programs is so that they literally do not have to feed your fucking kids, and they will argue about it in front of you at multiple sporting events, and literally bow up to you like we're gonna fist fight right here, and me just walk a man down and say, "You have no idea, I'll crush you." Like, are you kidding me? In front of all these people, and I'm on the side of feeding fucking children, and you're on the fucking I went to Carmel side? No, 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 son. That ain't how that works at all. And him go run and get in the bus and run away. By the way, Coach Reeder. So yeah, I literally all I wanted to do was make sure these kids got fed. And that whatever we do, practice or lifting weights or whatever, if it's not also feeding them, they're getting the short end of this fucking stick, man. And have the athletic director tell me it ain't our job to feed them, have the principal tell me it ain't our job to feed them, have the fucking my head coach tell me you're a goddamn angel. How the fuck you a white boy living on the outskirts of the city come into the inner city, work at a fucking charter school, and you're like the Black Panthers, like you're create a breakfast program so if the kids come to a morning workout they get breakfast. I'll make it with my fucking self in the snow and everything. Went out there and made these kids fucking eggs. And you know what the craziest part about the whole story is? Nobody ever showed up to check on us, not even once. Not a fucking athletic director, not a principal, not a teacher. Never just showed up and wondered what the fuck was up because they knew. I was there for no reason. I had no. I made $1,000 for the football season. I was expecting 500. I literally wasn't even expecting that. And I was there the whole fucking year, every morning at 6 a.m. for 6 days a week. What made me sickest about it was because it was a charter school, because athletics were not important, because they weren't abiding by IHSAA rules. That is a historical site, Broad Ripple High School. And And that weight room and that basketball court was fucking empty all day, every day. Never got fucking used. They ain't give a fuck about them kids. When you think about getting to play high school basketball in a historical site, I would have a hell of a program. I would be a really good recruiter for my program too. Right? But because it's a charter school now, they don't give a fuck. They don't want anyone in that building that when it ends school time. Yeah, charter schools don't even have sports. Yeah. I mean, I had to drive the bus and shit, which again, I would do that shit in a heartbeat, right? So I don't know if many of you know this because we'd been banned from TikTok for a while. But I got a job interview, or I had a job interview for a head coaching job. I haven't heard back yet, but my goal is to get into an IHSAA program. This is a 1A small program, um, and make waves because I know I can have a big positive impact on these kids, especially if I know the rules, right? Like I know that they should be fed and I know what they need to be fed and I can make recommendations. I can actually participate in the not just coaching like the varsity football team, but coaching like an entire town's football program from like, 3rd, 4th grade on, right? It's how you have the most impact on the most people. Mhm. Or I mean, a lot of people have talked about getting into politics. Mm-hmm. But again, like I said, part of the fuck. Yeah, add this to the bunch of bullshit we're dealing with right now. Yeah, I did say that, right? The reason they want to eliminate public schools in Indiana is because in the IHSAA, if your kid's at a before or after school program, your school's got to feed them. And they don't want to feed your kids. They want to pick who they want to decide who they feed. Um, they find a school who really cares like you do. Yeah. That's what I found when I went and interviewed at other schools in Indianapolis. I found coaches who were, this is their alma mater. They played in college. They have a degree. They're a teacher there. They're really invested in this school is where I grew up, and I want to see it good, be good or whatever. Um, you really do have to like give a whole bunch of a fuck because like one of the things we didn't even talk about in my interview is pay. I'm not coaching for money. It's so beyond money, right? Yeah, make sure you like this shit, share this shit. Always sit here talk about lunch. Hey, we did talk about that, right? There plenty of people who was talking about that. Nursing homes not being cheap. I regularly talk to our elders about their finances, and you'd be surprised. Like some of them give everything. Some of them, some of these of our elders, um, to for their living situation, they give every dime that they get. All their meals. It's like I wouldn't call it a nursing home. It's more like private apartments for elderly people. Like the stairs are built different, you know what I mean? There's handlebars everywhere. It's clearly meant to give them some sort of normalcy as they age. Um But for years, I talk to people who have no money because this is how much I get and that's how much it costs to live here. And of course, they're on every option for them, Medicare, Medicaid, all their, yeah. Assisted living, yeah, I would say unassisted living. If we are all God's children, what's so special about Jesus? I mean, you asked James, so we'll talk about it. Jesus is one of about 3,000 of his kind. Um, he's the latest one with the son of a virgin mother trope. There are 2,307, I think, prior gods who were born of a virgin mother. So that's a trope. Um, if he exists, that's cool. If he said those things, even cooler. Uh, Obviously, the miracles are stories, right? Anybody believing that shit needs their head checked. Um, I understand the value of scripture. I think it's probably not worth memorizing and having it top of mind and just being able to like conversate and randomly throw in Bible verses. Um, Gosh, I hope it gives you some desire to know more. Once you hear someone like me tell you I hadn't thought about a deity unless someone else brought it up in 15 years. So, joke's on you. I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah, I would call it assisted living, right? Oh my gosh. One of my YouTubers said they call them robbing homes. She made one phone call asking questions for her mom, and the first question they had for me was, "What kind of money does she have?" Right. So, hmm, I hope that answered your question. By the way, I'm doing so good. Just straight up blocking motherfuckers instead of talking to them. Canada, British, Australia, Canada, and Great Britain. 6th gen fighter program. Global Combat Air Program. Trilateral initiative between the UK, Italy, and Japan to develop a 6th gen fighter. Something to keep an eye on. I know a lot of people are wondering what to do about their retirement, especially since it's gone down the tube. I think a trilateral agreement to develop a 6th gen fighter when the U.S. doesn't even really have. Does the U.S. have capable 5th-gen fighters? F-35, YF-22. We'll see. If I don't, do we have 6th gen fighters? Does the U.S. have capable 6th generation fighters? Doesn't have fully operational 6th gen fighters left. Air Force is developing next generation air dominance program. Sixth gen fighter in the next decade. U.S. Navy developing its own 6th gen fighter FA-XX. Boeing has secured a contract for the F-47 next year dominance fighter. So obviously, get your money out of fucking Boeing. I can tell you that right now, right? Make sure your stock portfolio does not have that, because here's what I can almost fucking promise you based on limited research. There's no way Boeing is the only company that's going to develop a 6th generation fighter. In fact, 4 countries, 1, 2, 3, 4, Australia joins the UK, Italy, and Japan to develop a 6th gen fighter. Okay. A lot of people are wondering what to do with their money, as I've said. We're in the midst of a renewables boom. So remember, no matter how it feels living here in the United States right now, I feel pretty gross living in a country that deports American citizens and can't get them back. It has a Supreme Court that will keep the United States from getting one of its own citizens back. Um, there are a lot of I empathize with people that have questioned their service, their time they spent working for the government. Um, are certainly you feel kind of gross with your taxes, right? One of the things I would encourage you to do if you're feeling pretty gross about this administration and what it does with its money, like a Gestapo, where ICE is literally sweeping up people off the street that are full-blown American citizens with no criminal record and deporting them, and not getting them back. Yeah, F-47 felon 47. That's funny. So yeah, Boeing got that contract, and again, I'm saying get your fucking money out of Boeing or sell it. Sell it while it's good, because it's about to get a whole lot worse with multiple countries signing contracts to produce the next, like the 6th gen fighter. So you've got the Navy developing their own, and then Boeing's got gonna take a crack at one. Okay, but again, hey, it's good to see 40% clean power and record renewables boom. 17 hours ago, Zelensky said Ukraine is on Russian land. They've pushed them out of Ukraine back into Russia. That's awesome. Again, this has been a show of good news today, right? It's not as good as it could be, right? It hardly ever is, right? But, oh no. Yeah, that's what I thought. I've said, I wonder if Republicans will ever win another election in my lifetime. So yeah, fuck yeah, Slava Ukraine. Yeah, why would Americans want to pay cut? You know what's crazy? My cousin, his name's James Combs. He's a little white boy from Scottsburg, Indiana. He played basketball at the University of Kentucky. He was a guard in the late 70s. He graduated from UK. He had ankle problems, so after UK, he hung it up. Got married to Kay Combs, his wife. They were just a badass couple. They were my favorite people when I was a little kid. Um, James got a job working at a factory and management. He's a leader. He's got a degree. He's a leader. And he played softball and he's like super active and shit. And he hurt his fucking back. And it wasn't the medical bills. Wasn't that. It was the steroids that they gave him. Man, that guy went from able to dunk a basketball at 5'10" in his fucking 30s in his blue jeans to, I heard he got up there 400 or 500 pounds doing factory work. He wasn't. We weren't meant for factory work. Entire countries' manufacturing is handled by robots right now. Severe osteoporosis. I'm living proof. Huh? Didn't know. Yeah, he's sore all the time. Has to take these steroids. Okay. So one of the things that I try to tell my kids is work hard in school so you don't have to pay with your body. And paying with your body is doing things like joining the fucking military, right? Playing football. And again, for many people, getting to play football outside of high school is a blessing. But to me, I want to teach my kids to go to college where you want to go to college and get a degree and study what you want to get a degree in. Worry about that football shit after you can go to college and time manage and learn how to get good grades and be an adult be on your own and shit and feed your fucking self and keep your goddamn armpits from being stinky, right? Shit like that. Because a lot of kids don't they don't have anyone in their life that's telling them the things that you don't like to do are probably what you need to be doing like all day every day. Like you need to sleep 8 hours a night. And you probably need a nap. You're probably just tired. You need to drink water. You need to eat right. You need to exercise. And remember that you need to do these things as much as because they benefit you, more because they benefit future you. Like future you will look back on current you and be like, "Hey, thank you for fucking taking care of yourself. Keeping yourself out of the hospital, out of the doctor's office, off of fucking medication, right? As long as you fucking can. As long as you can." I know, James, I made a video before I went live and posted it. At like 7:45. Yep. There are rumors going around that Donald Trump's going to declare martial law on April 20th on Hitler's birthday. How fucking convenient. As a result, there's a massive nationwide protest, your state capital noon, on the 19th. And also, isn't that Easter Sunday? God, what a guy. So, or maybe it's not Easter Sunday. That could be my bad. But yeah, I just made a video, brother. Just said that. Like, there's a rumor. It's loose, and I think ultimately irresponsible to keep it top of mind. It is Easter. Thanks, Timmy. Because a lot of people are saying he's going to do that, and again, much like laying these tariffs using the IEEPA and citing a trade deficit as the national emergency that he's able to declare not declare martial law, but lay these tariffs as a result. A trade deficit is not a national emergency. Also, the tariffs are supposed to be reciprocal, and that means equal, and they're not. So again, in any sane world with sane adults, the tariffs would not be allowed to exist. But know that Donald Trump has days to do what he thinks he has a lot of time to handle. Do you understand? Like he has a couple of days left to lay off the tariffs. Hopefully the fucking stock market recovers. Um I don't think either of those things is going to happen. I'll just be the one that'll say it out loud. I think if it drags on too long, the stock market dips too low. Again, I did some more research because I think one of the things that I've realized is that at certain levels of communication, uh, it's real easy for people to send me a message and me not get that, and I don't understand. Like, I think what you're saying is nonsense, and so I did have some feedback on my. I don't have any empathy for anyone that didn't see this coming and didn't get your money out ahead of time. I mean, shit, I hit rock bottom last year. I kind of saw the healthcare industry failing, and I pulled my money out of Vanguard. Um, Again, if you're looking to invest and hopefully make that money back and actually have some semblance of a retirement, I would keep an eye on what foreign uh, aircraft manufacturer gets. Yeah, Luigi's or is Luigi. Whatever foreign manufacturer gets the contract for the sixth gen fighter for Canada, the UK, Italy, Japan. I imagine each of those countries have a manufacturer that's going to submit for a contract to develop a sixth gen fighter. Remember, in the United States, um, the U.S. doesn't have a functional sixth gen fighter. Didn't play your money out, just got to write it. I don't know that that's the play, but hey, you know what I mean? It wasn't that hard to get in there and get your money out. Every hour you wait during a work day, you're just losing money. There is a massive nationwide protest on April 19th. It's a Saturday. Tell all your friends. Yeah, I did. I did tell you I made that video on Monday. Okay. The leopards eat faces party. GOP mega donor rages at Trump's bullshit tariffs. See, I don't have to make content shitting on Donald Trump. I'll just let Donald Trump supporters do that. You know what I mean? I don't have to waste, I want you all to know um I blocked them on on social media like 9 years ago. I didn't want to see what Elon or Donald or Marjorie Taylor Greene, or I didn't want to see what any of them had to fucking say about anything on any platform. The only time I'd ever see it is somebody sent it to me. And he probably had to take a picture in order for me to get it, because otherwise I ain't clicking on it. Oh, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't really fuck with her, right? So I haven't subjected myself to them forever. A lot of people have. A lot of people have just looked at this situation, like with their eyes peeled back, and they're just watching it in madness. It's like an ant farm, right? Except those ants are people and you're just in an airplane this time. So I just think that when the stock market is crashing, there's your rich people pissed. When the price of goods is exploding, when debt is exploding in the United States, a lot of the smarter people in the United States are leaving. Doctors and lawyers and people in politics are leaving. Um, and I know that a lot of people aren't that are just gonna stick it out. Um, I still think, like I said, I still think this country and democracy is worth fighting for. So far, it has held. I think yesterday we took a little step back democratically with this Supreme Court. But again, they're losing forever if we are just better organized and we're more inclusive. And there's a reason that I'm establishing the American Socialist Party, because I want to be able to break from Democrats when they're running a Zionist, for example, for political office. I want to say neither a Republican nor a Democrat, but a socialist with experience here, here, and here. And these things are all relevant. This person's a fucking Zionist that still supports this genocide. Yeah, they may have blue on their collar. They might call themselves a Democrat, Chuck fucking Schumer, right? But I can't be on the same team as them. I want to make a new team. I want to make a new team of people that believes everyone should have universal health care, education, income, and housing, that thinks we're all equal, that is very pro equality, that thinks that unions are the way, and that despite declining union membership over the last 40, 50 years, it is the path forward. They've been decried as like a bad thing, but they are a net positive on society. Tim Snyder, professor of lessons from 20th century, is moving to Canada. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are. And it may, I mean, there's no saying it won't get to a spot where you'd be wiser packing it up. Remember, no ethical billionaires. What's called prison? Oh, prison is where everyone is equal. Clearly, you've never been in jail or prison. That's not how my experience went. I felt like there was a hierarchy, a pecking order. I felt like there was leadership and subordinate. I'm guessing you've never been anywhere near it. World news. You don't look at the people to your left and your right wherever you go and think that we're all equal. I think we're all paper mache. I think that we are more fragile than we could ever imagine. I think that we see more than we were ever meant to see. I think that um, a lot of people feel a lot of things and never talk about them, and they never square away their wrong-headed thoughts. They never get it right. They just stay wrong and stay mad. And there are just millions of people worldwide that only understand the most base of emotions, and that's anger. Not mad at the person to my left and my right for the situation that we're in. There's a few thousand, maybe like a few million people in total in the world that we're really mad at, and that's the uber rich who have created this world that you live in. Sing it. Like, you didn't put in a fucking Arby's. Some rich asshole did, right? You didn't, you didn't, I hate to use another restaurant, but it's like you didn't put that fucking Walmart in. Most of the things that are going on in the world like aren't your fault. It's not your problem to solve. Many of you will take on problems that are too big for you to solve, right? But you'll never be greater than another person. You just won't. There's nothing you could fucking do to make yourself greater than another human being. Nothing you could accomplish. Nothing. Yeah. Annie, Trump is manipulating the stock market. Yeah. He's trying to manipulate the stock market. Remember, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's convinced he's right, and he's receiving his instruction from Vladimir Putin, filtered through Elon Musk. hmm So, one of the things that Donald Trump doesn't think about, because he doesn't think about anyone but himself, is he doesn't think about whether or not someone will purchase something based on its price. So, what he thinks is the tariff collected on goods purchased goes to the gov. We're going to make all this money. And I think not only will it not bring manufacturing back to the United States, people will just buy less shit. That means the government gets less money. And again, a lot of people are stopping paying their federal tax so that they're not giving this administration the ammo it needs, right? Because a lot of things that this government wants to do, it needs money to do that. And that's one of the ways that you know that this regime can be defeated, is to starve them out. You know, one of the first things that happened in the wake of the election was people stopped watching mainstream media, right? We realized right away that the mainstream media was going to normalize this, and there's no sense in paying for cable, right? So it was the early move, right? Stop watching, you know, stop watching the fucking news. You know what I'm hearing is now they're coming around because it's hurting their fucking ownership's wallet, because all of their stocks are crashing along with everyone else. And good. Money is the only thing these motherfuckers understand. No taxation without representation. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, along the lines of taxes theft, people often ask, you're a socialist, how do you feel about the economy? And then they try to pin you in and say socialists believe XYZ. And personally, I believe that I'm trapped in this fucking dimension with you, idiota, which includes a fucking stock market and a capitalist economy. So a socialist believes that, first of all, capitalism may be what got us here, but it is ultimately what will kill us all. sort of that parasitic relationship where it might be keeping us alive, it'll also kill us. There is no symbiotic relationship here between capitalism and a thriving society. In fact, the thriving part of society is when it gets away from capitalism completely, detaches itself from the need for everything to be a transaction. You know, one of the things that I noticed, are you ready for this? You're not going to like it. It's just true. Uh, I get more people watching me when I ask for money. People like watching other people beg. Fortunately, I work a full-time job. I don't need your fucking money. I probably make more money than most of you anyway. And if I owe you money, I'll just fucking give it to you. But I'm not gonna sit here and ask for fucking money. I'm not gonna beg for money. You're never gonna see no links again, ever. Why? Because I'm building the American Socialist Party. hmm hmm I have more people that watch this show when I'm posting Venmo links, fucking telling you I got issues. Shit, we had 100 plus people watching me. Hell yeah. When my fucking furnace was going bad, we were getting 300 to 600 people in a fucking. Yep. Now that I'm doing all right and I don't need your shit, right? And I'm willing to just like pay you back. I don't want to feel like I owe anybody. If anybody needs help, I'll be the one to help now, right? It's the same reason that you didn't see me run out, get a bank account real quick, have no money myself invested. Go get a bank account real quick to get a tax ID real quick to real quick while this administration's fucking deporting American citizens and file to be a political party through the FEC. Do we think that's like wise right now? I ain't really trying to get deported. El Salvador really wasn't on my bucket list. So I'm going to wait till I have money of my own to put into it and money to, keep myself out of hawk, right? And then I'll establish the American Socialist Party. We'll get a tax ID. We'll register with the FEC. We'll do all that shit. We'll do all the things that comes with that. Okay. Obviously, there's a lot of mental prep involved with understanding what it means to establish a political party in the United States, which has this electoral college, which is traditionally a two-party system, and people are just going to be like, Jared, don't you feel like this is a fruitless endeavor? Capitalism is the fruitless endeavor. Trickle down economics, anyone? Remember, I told you, in terms of the wealth available in the US stock market, the wealthiest 1% control 93% of the value in the US stock market. The lower 50% of earners, people who make $50,000 or less, the people that make $50,000 or less own 1% of the value of the US stock market. So the people that make less than 50K. Now, think about what that means for the middle class. That means that 6% of the wealth in the US stock market is held by not billionaires, anyone over 50K. Yep. So I don't know why there's people in my comments being disrespectful to me. You're not even on my radar. Like why would you dislike me? Right? I ain't asking for shit. All I said was I want everyone to have universal healthcare, education, income, and housing. And if you don't like me, that means you're on the opposite side of those arguments. Or why some attack against me, right? To draw ire, because you ain't doing anything. When I look at your account, you don't have a following. You don't have people watching you talk. Are you even allowed to go live? Hmm. Ding. Crashing the economy so his rich buddies can buy up your property when you can't pay bills. Yeah. That's exactly what they're going to do. But here's the thing. His rich buddies didn't divest. His rich buddies did not divest. In fact, if you look, there's even an app that you can use where you can look at all the people you dislike and you can see their stock portfolio, which is public fucking record. By the way, they've all lost their fucking ass. So the plan, stupid, because those people did not divest in time. There are rich people that did divest in time. Yeah, that's what I said. In a sane society, Donald Trump would be impeached and removed. You're right. FEMA's under attack. Look at what MTG did there. I didn't see what she did other day. Honey, Joanne, all I've watched is that lady lose money. Music to my fucking ears. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I wake up, I read a headline. Marjorie Taylor Greene took a total fucking bath, and you're like, yes, yes. That bitch lost millions? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. But no, I didn't see if she did something insider trading. Totally. That makes total fucking sense. Exactly. I mean, she needed a fucking insider trade to just get back to fucking even, right? She made that big investment at a Palantir and lost 40%. Keep in mind, I don't trade stock. I don't have a stock portfolio. Here's what I've learned. I'm not doing that shit. And when I go talk to my best friend, one of my best friends actually, his name is Brett. He is an attorney by training, and he is a financial advisor by trade. Okay? And when I go talk to him and I say, what do I do with my excess? Right? You know, I'm working, my wife's working, we don't have kids, I'm a disabled vet. We don't have a pot to piss in, but if we were going to invest, what would the play be? And understand that he's been doing this for years. What do you think the play is? Do you think it's the stock market? Do you think that he tells people that have excess money to invest to get into the stock market? %95 of the people that he talks to do not have an emergency fund. Are poorly positioned. They have 50 fucking payments coming out of that account a month. Their finances are not in order enough to also have an investment account. 95% of the time, they're coaching you on how to fucking operate as a human being with like a checking account. And how often do you think that my best friend, a financial advisor, who 95% of the time runs into people that can't even manage a fucking bank account, how often do you think they recommend the fucking stock market? Because if you selected 0 and said there's no fucking way, Jared, if I'm a financial advisor, 95% of the people I talk to are poor financial managers, on what planet would we ever recommend the stock market? The lights are flickering. That tells me I'm talking about some wild shit. So, most importantly, what I hope has to happen for a whole lot of people is that you start hanging on to your dollars and you start pointing them at in the right directions. Because, like, I think this is progressive 4440, right? Yeah. So A lot, yeah. None. No, they're not. They're not recommending the fucking stock market, right? That's not to say that they're not telling people to buy mutual funds and shit like that, right? People said we don't have the resources to strike. We do. It's just we live in the digital age, and so what people don't realize is that people are absolutely leaving their jobs at these corporations. These corporations that eliminate their DEI programs, that are tanking for the better part of it. They're going to good companies. Okay. The most powerful people in the country operate a few applications: Amazon, Twitter, Facebook. The most impactful thing that you can do is just delete those from your device. Stop using them. A lot of people have come to me and said, "Oh, I'll delete my profiles." No. Just delete it off your phone. If you're going to do that, though, you might as well get rid of Threads, IG, and you most definitely need to get Facebook Messenger off of your device. Now, you might as well get rid of Twitter, might as well get rid of Amazon. One of the things I've learned is people are going to keep fucking Amazon anyway. It's way too useful, Jared. And all I would ask is that you just use that as a search engine. Find what you were going to buy, click a couple extra buttons, and go buy it from the seller, probably at a cheaper price, because they got to hike their price up to sell it on Amazon. You could get it even cheaper with a couple extra button clicks. So you don't have to strike to participate in boycott, participate in protest. I'm completely empathetic to the people that say, I can't strike, I can't. But you could boycott some shit. You could never fucking go somewhere where you don't feel welcome again. 100 fucking percent. Mm-hmm. You could not do business with the people that would rather see you deported or jailed. And remember, that's what these billionaires will do. Okay? That's what these billionaires will do is they will go to any end to protect their wealth. Up to and including Palantir sponsoring ICE and the President of the United States using ICE like Gestapo to roll up in unmarked cars, in plain clothes, under the guise of a mental health check or whatever, a wellness check, and try to deport people. And I'm literally watching videos of the attorneys roll up and get out of the car for an immigrant and be like, hold on, gentlemen, we're their attorneys. You're being videoed. Let's talk about this situation before you go ahead and cuff my man here. And I want to make sure you understand ICE has loose jurisdiction, and cops are bootlickers. Okay. 100% say it with my face. Because if ICE rolled up on you and you called the police, 100% police stand on your side. There you go. That's the world we live in. Okay. So obviously, I always try to be careful about what I'm saying and not sit here and spin my tires on Trump supporters. I'm trying not to be a target, right? While being a target, while actively being targeted, right? That's why we get banned for bullshit and. Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ. They just arrested an attorney that specializes in that at the airport coming back from spring break with family. Hey, I've been talking about, hey, stop talking about your plans on fucking social media. Not. I'm not blaming the victim. I'm just saying when things like that happen. When things like that happen, my brain says, I wonder if that attorney said, going on spring break to Cancun, flying home from spring break from Cancun, because that's the kind of shit people do. Even Jackie fucking Singh. I had to clock Jackie Singh on fucking Blue Sky because Jackie Singh was like, I'm getting out of town. I'm headed to the airport now. And I sent a message that like I didn't get replied to. I got a DM. Hey, thank you. Where I said, please tell me you are not announcing your movement. Like, tell me you aren't sitting here exposing these motherfuckers for being like horrible fucking people. And you're telling people your movement, like as you're doing it. Oh, honey, that's how you get abducted. What is wrong with you? So, no more announcing your movements. Mm-hmm. So on Bulwark, need 3 or 4 GOP to at least caucus with Dems and force Johnson out and put their guys speaker to the top. This is shit. I don't know. Brown, not so much as blue shirts. I just can't imagine. Like, think about this. Okay, I'm gonna talk. I don't normally talk about me like that, but I'm gonna talk about this. Okay, you see how I don't have big bags under my eyes, right? You see how when you look at the comment section in the show that I have, the the show numbers are steady the whole time. That means that I have people that are invested in this program, both materially, like some of them have helped me when I've been down. Some of them mod for me. Some of them are just like consistently listening to the show, participating in the discourse. Okay. I don't have. I'm married. I don't have kids. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a homeowner. For those of you that are like familiar with Indianapolis, I live on the far east side, out in Lawrence. I always tell people like if you're gonna visit, just drive until you get tired, and then turn left. That's probably Oak Landing, and that's how you get to me. Okay. My wife works at a hospital. She works at a OBGYN. She's the girl you check in with. Pretty little blonde girl with glasses. Okay. We don't have kids. We have 4 dogs and 2 cats. Okay. We both sleep like babies. Go to bed at before 9 p.m., up at 4 or 5 every day. My wife is a voracious reader. When she's not working her full time job, she's probably loving on them dogs and them cats, and she reads books. I think she told me the other day she's at like 27 here in 2025. I also work a full time job. I work from home. For the record, I recommend it for everyone. If your job can be worked from home, you should be. As someone who like doesn't have kids and has dogs and cats and shit, it is an entirely different lived experience to get to have animals that I don't have to put in a kennel all day. Except the only time those dogs are in a kennel is when they're feeding. And that's just to keep their bowls separate and keep them separate so I don't have to deal with them like trying to hurt each other. Okay? So I work a full time job. My wife works a full time job. Okay? My dream is to be an NFL head coach. I would also be an NBA head coach. Basketball was my first love, but I played football for 30 years and have coached it already for several years. Um, I thought for a long time the pathway to get an opportunity is to just give yourself to the game, right? So I coached first couple years without the expectation of pay. Had a paying job. This past year, I worked remotely for a football program. that ultimately refused to hire me. So think about this. In 2025, I worked this past year. So last fall, I was sort of an invisible coach for Traders Point. I think it's like a Christian high school, as I think that's what it's called. Hey, appreciate you, cutie. Um, my head coach from 2 years ago, my first year coaching high school football, um, left that program and got a job elsewhere. And he wanted to retire from this place, by the way. Great. He has a great story in my eyes. In my eyes, he's a great head coach. Why? Especially for young black men. The way he talks about his story is just, in my eyes, is fucking inspiring. He's an undersized little guy. Um, from Memphis, Tennessee. If you know anything about Memphis, you know that the odds of Memphis and not now actually, like Memphis has been supported. Um, Memphis as a college because of people. I believe it's Penny Hardaway. Um, no, is it Anthony Hardaway? The head coach. Penny Hardaway, is Penny Hardaway the head coach at Memphis? Penny Hardaway, fuck yeah. Okay. But my head coach went to high school in Memphis. Played safety. His parents were real hard on him, so he always got real good grades. But he was undersized, and he said he really wanted to play at the next level. He didn't know if he could do it or not, but he really wanted to play at the next level. And the only offer he got to play college at the next level was at Austin P, which for the record is still a D1A program. Okay. And when he talks about it, it's the hardest thing he ever did. First year he went, he was just a body. Second year he went, he was a rotational safety and played some special teams. His junior year, he rotated with, he was a starter and rotated at safety, played on special teams. And senior year, he did it all. Okay. And was like a star. And you see a little film of him and he's nasty. And this is somebody that, or for most people, you'll never meet someone that played more football than I did, right? And he played 4 years, Division One, and he'd be the first person to tell you that if it wasn't for that football program taking him in and all of their support that they have and throwing it at him, not only would he not have been able to play football after high school, but he wouldn't have made it. Wouldn't have graduated college, and ultimately wouldn't have found what he wanted for a career at such a young age. Uh, and he became a fucking teacher and a coach. And by the time I met him, he'd been coaching for 20 years. He'd coached at Pike. He'd coached at, which is a IPS school. He'd coached at parochial schools that had been to state finals. I mean, this guy for lack of a better like a better candidate, pretty good head coach. He unfortunately a bigot, and it made it very difficult to want to work for him. So when he left Purdue Poly to go to Traders Point, first of all, I was like, how fitting. They'll love him there. He sent me an application and told me to apply. And when I opened the application, it's like a typical laundry list of know this, know that. It's a Christian school. But in big blue letters in the dead middle of the page, it said, must be a Christian. I couldn't have noped out of that fucking faster. Backed out that shit. Sent him a message. I said, "Did you see this application? Did you read it over?" This shit says like must be a Christian and shit. And I didn't like the back and forth I had with my coach. So ultimately, I did not apply. And he came to me after they got their asses kicked and asked me to watch film and offered to hire me and said if he had to pay me out of his pocket he would, and I refused to take money from him and said just let me watch your fucking film. And ultimately, as I've said many times before, on defense, it's about understanding tendency, and on offense, it's about being mysterious and being kind of unpredictable and not actually avoiding predictable patterns of behavior. And also, you got to have a confidence that the shit that you were doing in practice is going to work in a game, and you have to run it. You don't get to decide in the game, I'm not running this. We ran it. It worked in practice. Um, so ultimately, I spent my second year coaching high school football not on the sidelines, sort of in the background as doing all the other shit. Actually, the talking to players about their plans at their high school, making highlight film, stuff like that. And ultimately, couldn't get away from that opportunity fast enough. And then on the cherry on top was my head coach got fired. So the guy that coached me at Purdue Poly, that left Purdue Poly for Traders Point, who thought he was going to retire there, submitted his plan, and it was probably a good plan. And they fired him and said they want to go in a different direction. I think it's because he's black. And they wanted to get somebody in there that they felt could recruit coaches, because he either place that we were together, he could not get someone to stick. And obviously, there's a lot of ego um, in people, in men specifically. So that had a big impact on the early part of my coaching career. Is that I'm not really for the adults. I'm for the kids. I'm the teacher, the one teaching them the game, um, and I'll let the other adults do all the other shit. So that, for the record, I found out the hard fucking way that I don't want to be a teacher. It just took a long time to get there, right? And that had a lot to do with this job that I have now, which again I see as a blessing. Cost of goods is going up. It's probably better for me, instead of being in school, not producing an income when money's tight, to work. Obviously that's what you were put in this society to do. Um, but yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit at length about my life. I play video games. It's my hobby. All kinds of video games. I'm not a hater. I don't have a hating bone in my body. And I would just ask, after I told you about myself, right? My little life, my little meaningless existence on this rock. Why do you hate it so much? And I would allow any of you to say the same about your life. Describe your life, what you do and what you have, and the things that you care about. And ask anyone who has an issue, especially like with, there's a big protest on the 19th. Anyone that has a problem with that, just ask them, what do you hate about like my life so much? What is so undesirable about the way I live? Right? I'm not religious. I don't talk about that shit. Right? I'm not a capitalist. Like, I'm not a person trying to sell you stuff. Right? You'll probably never see me with little yellow bar under my content. And that's no disrespect. There are plenty of people on TikTok doing this because they have to. But one of the things that you have to know as somebody that spends a lot of time around me is I'm not here because I have to be. I'm not here because this sustains me. I'm here because I want to be here. I want to sit down with a group of like-minded people and talk about what is going on in the world and make sure that the other people that I know and that I care about are hearing and seeing the same kinds of things I'm seeing as I look around and try to take in all of what is happening in the world. Because it is a lot. One of the resounding themes that you have better picked up by now is that we have seen far more than we were ever meant to see. We know far more than we were ever meant to know. One of the things that this regime is relying on is controlling the narrative to make it so you don't know what's going on and the average person doesn't going on. Fuck your feelings 2025. Who's MP, military police combat vets. Okay. Fuck your feelings 2025. I was in the 8th Marine Regiment in 2006. I was in 2-2 and 05. 26 MEU. We were on a MEU. I got lucky. I got very lucky. I have said every opportunity I've gotten since I've come home from the Marine Corps that my original orders were to 1-9, The Walking Dead, who had just come back from deployment. And when I went to check in, they were dissolving 1-9 and pushing everyone out to other units. So I can't remember how it goes, like how the story goes. Cousin was Navy EOD, it killed in 06. It's the best of us. So, it makes me sad. What was I saying? I forgot. Fuck. So my original orders were to 1-9, and when I got there, they were dissolving their unit because they'd been declared combat inefficient. They had 137 casualties in a single deployment, and those aren't KIA. Okay, they just had a lot of people get wounded or injured on a deployment, and so I don't know how the story goes. I have PTSD, so my memory is fucked up. Somehow I got orders, like different orders. I don't remember what happened. I could make something up. I walked into a room full of fucking bees nests, right? Like stacks on stacks on stacks. Everybody was in Charlie's, standing around drinking coffee, and everywhere I looked it was bars, clusters, fucking multiple chevrons, and I was like, oh god, I just got into the fucking fleet. I'm a dead person. Like I'm walking in there as like a fresh ass E3 into a whole room full of people that have been in the Marine Corps longer than and my balls have been dropped, right? And I'm like, oh my fuck. And I don't remember what happened. I blacked out, but I wound up in 2-2 across the street. 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, weapons company. When I got to them, they were in Iraq. So one of the ways that I know I'm not a massive piece of shit, fuck your feelings 2025, is that I could just say and get away with it, for the record, for the most part. I could just say and so I went to Iraq with them. Because many people fucking do. But what the truth is that instead of going, we just had to be ready to go every fucking day until they stood us down and said, we're not going. And I'm sure that I have a lot of feelings about that. But again, most of the unit was gone. They were in Iraq. So when they came back, obviously, some shit had happened, as shit tends to happen. Um, so in early 2006, Tutu was in Iraq. My unit was in Iraq. I was in Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, being prepped to join them until they stood us down. And then Tutu came back from their deployment. We got a boot drop, so we got a bunch of brand new people to the Marine Corps. And I was no longer considered a boot because I had already been in the fleet for 90 days before the boots came. We got a whole bunch of them. And then I think, paired with the fact that Tutu had been on 5 straight deployments to Iraq, there were 240 new guys in the unit. And long story short, when they did awards from that fucking deployment, Tutu got a PUC, a Presidential Unit Citation. That's like a unit-wide award. I do not rate. My unit got it while I was in that unit, but that award is not for me. And as a result of them earning that PUC and being fucking salty, a bunch of salty ass Marines, they really were. They got selected for the 26 MEU. We got selected for a boat ride. Now, publicly, those combat veterans that got Purple Hearts and cars, or yeah, cars and fucking Purple Hearts, and got promoted and took a puck, um, basically got told you're a QRF. Um, the guys that were used to being um, part of an assault force, not a. I hate to say it. I hate to use Top Gun terms. It's just fucking true. So you know how in Top Gun 2 in the end, Hangman rescues them in the end? He's the alert. He is a QRF. He's a quick reaction force fighter. So he's sitting in the aircraft waiting to get told to go fucking do your thing, chicken wing. Um, so they were aboard the USS Baton for the 26 MEU, which was fucking rad. Uh, Fortunately, because I'm a big dude and I have stayed an athlete over the course of my life, Marines haven't really talked shit about my service, but it was pretty fucking rad, actually. It's actually more dangerous to be on a boat than to just, go on a C-130 and go over sit in the desert for a while. No offense. Technically, it's more dangerous getting on and off of a ship. Um, Again, things that you didn't ever think that you would do in a war in the desert. I'm just throwing this out here. I could have never in a million fucking years joined the fucking Marine Corps in a war being fought in a desert and thought that I would end up on an amphibious, like a giant raft, taking a bunch of Humvees to a ship, like a well in a ship that also had Harriers on it and Sea Knights, which is a Navy helicopter. And to get on and off ships with a helicopter, to get on and off a ship with an amphibious vehicle, just going through the CAX, the Combined Arms exercises, to get you ready for that. Oh my god, and the swimming, uh, also could not have predicted in my whole life. Dumbass Jared gets to the Marine Corps, gets to the fleet, gets lucky they didn't send us right the fuck back to the desert, and we got selected for this fucking MEU, right? Got lucky there, and then they eliminated hazing. I want to say that was in '06. Hold on. Hmm. But yeah, one of the more like pull your fucking balls into your chest moments of my life. Um, you used to have to sneak to smoke aboard a ship, right? Or not you used to, but typically you have to sneak to be able to smoke a cigarette. Guys did all kinds of shit, nothing new. They'd smoke in the sub bay, they'd smoke in the fucking Humvees, they'd smoke in the fucking shower, they'd smoke, everywhere but where you sleep and where you eat. Smoke in the fucking classroom when ain't nobody in there. And eventually you wander, and I wandered out to like the opposite side of the ship, out onto a deck that I was just like, where the fuck am I? And just lit up and started smoking a cigarette. And I'll tell this story and then we'll get out of here. Okay. So keep in mind, I was only on a ship for like 8 fucking days. I didn't get in trouble. I have an honorable discharge. I have nothing fucked up to tell you. Okay. Right? I'm not talking about RJ today. Good to go. I'm trying to maintain my headspace. So what I see in the shadows is a fucking Harrier, by the way, and I couldn't hear it because the ship's loud. So I'm smoking a cigarette on this little balcony, and I see this in the fog, a fucking Harrier come out of the fog. And I thought, oh my god, it's gonna crash into the ship. Holy shit. And the dude slowed the fuck down and hovered over the ship and set that bitch down and got out of that shit, and the elevator took him down and shit like that. And I'm standing there smoking a cigarette thinking, holy shit, the fuck? That was scary as shit. That Harrier was zooming, and it just came to a fucking stop and set that shit down on the ship, and it got sucked into the, not sucked into the elevator took it down. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? And I met the pilot because he saw the cherry on my fucking cigarette on the way in, and it startled him. And he came and we smoked a cigarette, and he talked to me about not fucking doing that in the dark, and that he's lucky that the sun was up technically, or I'd be laying into you. But it was foggy that morning, and he was stressed the fuck out. So he was actually like kind of laughing when he saw me. And like I said, that's probably the only reason I'm not in a fucking brig somewhere, is because the stress of the military, like operating in the environment on a ship, even if you're in a Harrier and you don't have to have a runway, where he would have had a long run at it and I would have been able to see him come in and shit like that. No, he was coming in sideways on the ship and happened to catch a cherry off my cigarette, and then immediately came and confronted me after he uh, deboarded. And unfortunately, I didn't get in any trouble. Um, because like I said, it was actual daylight, and I wasn't in an unauthorized area. And again, one of the things I've always been very careful to say is not to say it's more dangerous on a boat than it is on in the desert. I'm grateful that I didn't go to Iraq or Afghanistan, and that I'm not even more fucked up. And I know way too many people that are, especially now, especially the people that have actually gone and gotten the benefits that they deserve. Are those benefits are now in question? You know, Donald Trump's administration is attempting to roll back a program that was aimed at helping veterans who missed their mortgage payment. COVID, anyone? So if you're a veteran, you have a home loan, you didn't pay your mortgage. Remember, they gave us a year. That's what that program is. So I know that there's people that watch me that expect to see like the American flag, the Marine Corps hat, and they're like, "Oh, this guy is gonna talk about nothing but shooty shooty bang bang." And fortunately for all of us, that was but a small part of my time on active duty, and but a fraction, uh, Ambrose, a fraction of my time. Um, and anyway, so we've been here, hour and 45 minutes. We had a nice long show today. So 30 bad bloggers subscription expires. There's a lot of guys that did not like the boat. Again, it's dangerous as fuck, and it's not nearly as sexy and glamorous. Um, I can't even say that with straight face. You know, you ask anybody that went to Iraq or Afghanistan that still has their head on their shoulders, how they feel about that now, and I'm glad I don't have that too. Um, which is a fucked up. It's a fucked up thing to feel, but it's just true. Um, I know so many that are so lost. But that's part of the reason that I'm here, and I got a hat on, and I got an American flag, and you could tell like I'm not one of those people that's like giving up on on America, and I'm gonna move to Canada and shit like that. No, I'm like, yeah. You guys have a good day. We'll talk soon. Okay, I gotta get out of here. Remember that veteran that yelled at Bush Jr.? Yeah, the one that has spoke multiple times, right? Anyway, let's get out of here. We didn't get banned or restricted today. We're doing good. That's my son. It's not good. Wait, what? That's my son. It's not good. What are we talking about? Your son is the your son's the veteran that yelled at Bush Jr. Or you're just talking about son who's all fucked up because of Iraq and Afghanistan. You guys have a good day. Marlon Marians in Afghanistan. So I used to think with so many people, so many service members serving in Afghanistan, there's like no way a veteran would vote for Donald Trump, knowing his ties to Russia and the fact that Russia has bounties on American soldiers, and Russia pays up to $250,000 a mission for um, fighters in Afghanistan to kill Americans. Son was USMC in Afghanistan. Some people just never.